Levi had.
Thank you.
I'm Jen. I'm an alcoholic. I am really glad it's not my turn today. Oh, Stanley. Can I call on Stanley?
Yeah. Thank you. No, I'm good. Just quiet. Oh, I was quick. I thought I had time. Hi, I'm Stanley Alcoholic. I'm here to introduce Jesse. Yeah, I didn't think about anything. Yeah, I've known Jesse for a few years, and I don't know. I think the first thing that comes to mind is she is somebody that it's wild. I've been working through the big book with some new guys recently again. And there's I forget the wording they use, but it's like the trust that's built immediately when we kind of tell our stories to one another and relate to one another, like it's there more than like a therapist or people that don't have this thing or anybody else. Like nobody can really convey this disease like another alcoholic, and nobody can really speak to another alcoholic like another alcoholic. um and beyond that, whenever Jesse and I get together and talk or just hang out, there's always been that trust there, and I don't really question it. I just know I trust her, and um when I don't really trust a lot of people, she's somebody I go to talk to, because I don't know why. I think it's just the God thing. I don't question it. Um she's uh she's always shown up, for not just for me but for other people in the program, and she's always willing to do the hard stuff, um which is funny because it's, I think she leads by example rather than being like, you need to do this. I see her doing things that I want to do, not only in like her program um and in recovery, but just you know outside of that. Like we do this so that we can live an actual life, not just live in these rooms. And she's been able to manifest a life outside these rooms based in what she's learned here. I think that's really inspiring. And I love her very much. And here's Jesse.
Morning, I'm Jessie. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Jesse.
I don't really know what I'm going to say today. I was encouraged to kind of not wing it, but pray and just allow whatever's, this isn't me. This is universal space right here, hopefully. And so, um, I was asked to speak the other day, and I was really honored. I think something for me is I never feel like I have anything to offer. And that was the first thing that came up for me when I was asked is, like why? Basically, I don't have anything to give anyone. Um, and I thought about it for a minute and did want to do service. I haven't spoken in a while. And when I speak, sometimes it helps me clarify things or, exactly where I'm at and in recovery. And it really does, just kind of give me a gauge almost of where I'm at. So what it was like, I grew up very confused. I grew up in a lot of trauma. I grew up in a lot of alcoholism. Of course, I didn't know that that's what it was called at the time. I just knew that things were very, very chaotic. I, started out and I was living with my grandparents and my mother in one house. And that was kind of like my nuclear family at that time. And that ended up shifting quite a bit throughout my young life. Just like bouncing to different homes. Not all of them were like familiar homes with families. Some of them were. But the point, I guess, in that is that I bounced so much that it was so confusing because I would pick up like one set of norms almost or get used to something. And then I would be shifted and have to relearn something. and then be shifted and have to relearn that all over again. And with everything, thanks. And just on top of like being who I was, that was just a very confusing process. And in all of those transfers, there was trauma in every one of them. No situation was super productive. It was all just like gave me a different brand of dysfunction. And I remember growing up and there wasn't a lot of alcohol in the home. My grandparents would have, like a 6-pack in the fridge for months, Rolling Rock, and and it would stay there. And it, they would have liquor in the cabinets, and the only reason that it was getting drank is because I was sneaking it. And so that just like I didn't see that a ton in like that immediate like nucleus. My mom wasn't a huge drinker. She would party, I think, looking back, but it wasn't like present. Like she was more just absent. Like my grandparents were there and she was just kind of gone. And so it was sheltered, from me a little bit in that sense, but aunts and uncles for sure. I had 10 aunts and uncles, and 6 of them, I believe, have passed due to alcoholism or related. And so, in those 9 aunts and uncles, sorry, my mom was the 10th, there was a lot of, they would be bringing those things to like my grandparents' house. That was like where the loud alcohol, like where the loudness came from, and the really like expressive, like substance use. But that didn't mean that like, my grandfather wasn't his own brand of something. I'm not sure. But it was chaotic. And so I bounced for, like a little bit. I was just kind of like moved in and out of places. When I was 12, things kind of really, really went to crap. Life pretty much just exploded, imploded, whatever. And I didn't know what to do. My mom didn't know what to do. Nobody knew what to do because that is what we did, right? Like nobody knew what to do. That's how it was. And everybody was just like pinballing in this life and with no real direction or intention or, I'm not sure. So life imploded. And that was the first time I guess that I got moved from like a family home to like a outside home, like a group home. And I really kind of like with what I did with that is I turned to substances pretty quickly. I don't even really know how. I don't know where they came from. I'm not even really like they just kind of were there all of a sudden. They just trickled in, and that was suddenly what I was using. That's suddenly how I was coping. And I was very young when that started, like where, it would be like stealing cigarettes and going out back behind a dumpster and like being like, cool or just in that like sneakiness. But what it was is like that was my first, I would fantasize about smoking cigarettes before I even smoked cigarettes, right? I would fantasize about having wine with the grown-ups before I even knew what it would do to me, how it tastes like. Before I knew anything about it, I knew that I wanted it. And so that was it. Like my first substances were, cigarettes, but they changed the way I felt. Something happened and I was like, cool, we are on to something. And the experimentation just did not stop there. I knew I was on a track and I knew that that was a track I wanted to continue to explore. And so I did. Shortly after my 12th birthday, I was sent to my first rehab. And I was like, this is outrageous. This is insanity because this doesn't fit. I don't belong here. I am not, this is just wild. For me, it was very much, no, I'm doing my best and I'm coping and I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm like, like I could not see that everyone around me at that age, like everyone was literally like, oh, you're gonna die. Like this child is gonna die. And so I went to my first rehab. And that was, I don't know, it was an interesting experience. I learned a lot more. I learned a lot about what else I wanted to experiment with, is what I learned. In my first treatment. um, And it was, you know, I was also too young. I don't know. I just didn't get it. Like I remember going to AA meetings or NA meetings. There was something. We had to go to some 12-step recovery meetings while I was there. And I went down into, you know, the AA rooms, and I would look around, and it was just like old people, old, really old people. And they were talking about how they had destroyed their lives, and, you know, how everything was gone, and and these stories that spanned over 40, 50, 60 years. And I'm like, yeah, I can't relate. I have, yeah, none of this is landing for me. We are two different people. And so it didn't take, but that was my first experience with it. And this actually just came to me the other day, something that was really weird about that first sort of like introduction to maybe even understanding what it is that goes on up here. But while I was in my first treatment center, I read this book. There was a book that had just come out, and it was called A Million Little Pieces. And I, you know, in that treatment center, they gave me a big book, and I'd started reading the stories in the back because that's what I was encouraged to do at first, to see if I could relate to anything. I couldn't or didn't, but then I was given that book, and I think my mom had sent it to me or brought it to me, and I read it and I couldn't put it down. I opened it up and I was like, oh my God, this person gets it. Like they know what this is like. And, you know, it was just like, and it was put in such like unpretty, unlovely terms. Like the stories were just raw about like laying in your own puke and pissing all over yourself. And I was like, yeah, I get that. I can talk about that. And that was like really, really helpful. I remember I latched onto that book so hard. And another one came out, like that's what I used for like honestly like a year or two, like even after I got out of recovery or like treatment center that first time, like that book kind of kept coming up. And there was another one that had come out, and I read that one and I was like, okay, there's something here, like maybe I'm understanding something, I don't know. And not too long after the second one had come out, I remember it like a national like thing, you know, that the man who wrote it from his perspective, he actually made it all up. Like none of it was real. And I remember that being such a huge blow to me. Like I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Like the one thing that I think I found that understands it, somebody actually had to fucking make up because they can't even fathom what goes on in my brain. They actually had to make it up. And that was like pretty, yeah, I don't know why that came up the other day. But it did. It was a huge thing at the time. So that continued. I get out of treatment and experiment further. I did. That went on. I mean, it was just, you know, just running the entire time. Everything I would do it. You could put it in front, yes, 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 and more. And kind of tried to start to pull it together. I moved to Wyoming when I was 21. And I was like, you know what is going to be really good for my drug addiction is if I move to a little town where nobody knows me and I don't know anybody else. I'm completely isolated and alone. And then I can probably just beat this thing. So that's what I did. I moved to Wyoming. It was a podunk little town where I knew nobody. And first friends I made, because, you know, I've grown up in a town like this. When there's nothing to do, you drink. And first friends I made, that's what we started doing. And I hadn't actually been a huge drinker before Wyoming. I'd had my like spurts with it, you know. When I was younger, I kind of went on with it, but I gravitated more towards other things in, you know, for quite a while there. And alcohol was just in the periphery, it was there. Um, and when I went to Wyoming, I started drinking really, really hard. And I did that for 2 years. And that was the first time that I'd ever, you know, really had just alcohol. And it was no different. Like it was like I can look at anything and everything, and it's like, yep, I can get to the fucking bottom of hell with that and that and that and that, because the statement is true for me. Like I can and will use anything alcoholically. Anything that makes me feel good, the slightest bit of better, the slightest bit of change, I will take it to the extreme. And so I'd gone to treatment second time at 17. That also didn't, you know, still just like got back out and was like, all right, that was a nice break. Good and cleaned out. Now we should be able to just, you know, work and get real good and gone. So I think I tried to start pulling it together around like when I came back from Wyoming. I knew something was fucking like people did not just do this like all the time like I was doing. And got real dark. So I came back to Montana and tried. I got into like, you know, some outside help therapy. Mind you, I had not tried another 12-step program in this entire time. Like my one experience at 12 years old in my first treatment was enough for me to decide that that was not for me because they didn't get me. And so I didn't, you know, it was not even really an option. 20 28 about is when I stopped drinking. I felt pretty good about myself because I felt like, you know, with all the shit that I had gone through in childhood, and like if I could come out of that and like still just like, you know, for a while it was like, well, if I can still just do coke on Tuesdays, it's fine. Like, you know, like I'm doing pretty good comparatively. And was like thoroughly like, yeah, like 20, and I was like pretty done. I was like, this is fucking wild. And actually I was not the catalyst to that. Like I wish that I could sit here and take credit for being like, oh no, I'm done drinking. It was a boy. I met a boy, and a boy who did not drink. And I really wanted to do anything and everything I could to like, you know, to keep that. I wanted what I wanted, and I wanted it like, you know, it was like, okay, this is a solution. And like, yes, some goodness in there. It's like, oh yeah, good. Like it's probably good not to be drunk 24/7. I think you're onto something. And so like, yeah, it wasn't entirely not beneficial. But that's why it was for another person. It was, you know, you don't do it, so I'm not going to do it because I like you. And so I stopped drinking, but I had nothing else in place except for, you know, I was doing some outside help. I'd been doing that for a long time. I was kind of pretty used to it. It was kind of one of those things like it's pretty routine. I would show up and knew like, you know, yep, this is what we do. Okay, out the door. Good. So I had nothing else in place when I quit drinking. And holy shit, I don't know if you guys know this, but when you quit drinking, it actually doesn't make your defects go away. They like to come on full force. And it was just, you know, like suddenly it was like, oh, without being completely numbed and like buffered the entire time, I'm starting to like have some of this stuff that's like expressing itself. And I got pretty sick in like, I don't know what to call it. I don't know. I don't know if it's alcoholism. I don't know if it's addiction. I don't know if it's codependency. It's all the same shit to me because again, I can use anything alcoholically, and I will. And so I got pretty far down into that. I quit drinking, but I got so addicted to a relationship. It was nuts. It might have been crazier than I've ever been on drugs and alcohol. Honest to God. And I was completely sober. And so that really sent me for a loop that, you know, surprisingly fell apart. And I did not know what to do with myself because I had dumped everything into an addiction. And when I do that, when that thing goes away, I have nothing. Like I was a shell. And I have never, like, I don't think that I could probably get any closer to like walking death than I was for the first 15 months of recovery. The only thing that I can say, like, you know, there's been a lot of anger and resentment and just like a lot of shit I've had to sift through over, you know, what brought me into these rooms. But I think that like, God damn, I can find gratitude now because in whatever weird fucked up way that happened, it brought me to these fucking rooms. And because of that, I knew where to maybe start recovering after my life had been leveled. And so I walked into the rooms. I started in a sister program and then came into these rooms, and it saved my life. First 15 months of recovery, I thought I was going to die. I woke up every day thinking that like the pain that I felt was either going to kill me And if it didn't just flat out kill me, I was going to kill myself because that was a lot. It was a lot. Recovery was hard. Getting sober was hard. Really fucking hard. And I did it, you know, like I did it. So that was really important to like helping me understand, you know, for myself that like I can do it because God, if I can make it through that, I don't know, you guys, like I still get very, very afraid. But like also in those moments when I'm very afraid, I do have people around to remind me, like, look at like that, and we're doing much better than that. So I found my way into 12-step. For a while, and it's so weird because before I even was in recovery, I could acknowledge that I was an addict. Like from a young age, I was like, yeah, I'm an addict. Yeah, that's true. I didn't know what that meant. And so once I got into recovery, I started unpacking, you know, what it is that's my brand and peeling back layers, and understood for me that alcoholism is a part of it. I'm an alcoholic. And so I popped on over here and started doing some work over here, and really dove in, tried to really dive in, and made it, I think, almost a year. It's like 9 months. And I had a relapse, pretty big one. Because that's also something that I do when I come up on milestones. Like I'm so unworthy and so you like undeserving of like good things that like that self-sabotage is so strong when it comes to a milestone. I'll kick it in. Like it will kick in. And that's what happened. You know, I was coming up on a milestone and I fucking relapsed because it was too scary. And made it through that and then dove in really hard. The first year was it was really lonely because I didn't know a lot of people. So after that relapse, I found a group for the first time. And I was like kind of skeptical going into it, but I did it. I showed up, was there every week, and was just doing the thing and trying to like make friends and let myself be seen and be brave. And that was really helpful. Like that group of friends was like really instrumental in my recovery. That's where I like really kind of started to lock in a little bit. And we were off in recovery. I recently passed my 2 year and I did not get a coin and I did not say anything because of this is exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm good. Like I don't, because I knew I had a feeling what would happen. And so for about 6 months before that, I had like started to kind of drift out of the rooms again. I do a thing, I kind of go on the periphery and I'll come back in, and I'm figuring out my patterns. But I had kind of really strayed. And what I've learned about myself through this experimentation, because you guys, I've heard that I'm very, very stubborn. And when one alcoholic tells you that in all of the rooms of alcoholics they've ever been in, you may be one of the most stubborn. At first, I was really proud of that because I was like, I'm so fucking oppositional. And it's actually really, really hard to be that stubborn. It fucks me over a lot. And I don't want to be that stubborn anymore. I want to just be able to like surrender it all. Drifted out of the rooms. I got pretty crazy. It takes me about 3 weeks apparently to start really feeling the effects of like not being in these rooms. What I've learned is that by 8 months, I'm like full into batshit crazy town. And that's just as a result of like not coming to these rooms, not engaging with people, not doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing. Because also what this program has helped me understand is like, I'm not good at the basic shit. Like my brain is so complicated and in light speed jumps and like forms millions of questions and millions of stories to go with those questions. And I will create and concoct these incredible things which in one sense is really great. And then you take it over here and get it a little unright sized. And my brain concocts those same stories in like a really negative way about myself, about the world, about other people. And I get very paranoid and I get very distrusting. And I get really, really just not right. And I can't even explain it. Like it is like something is not right. Like it's just all fucking wrong. And I'm not good at the basic stuff. You know, I'll get so complicated and down into those spirals and down into this thing that I call alcoholism that I can't even find my way back out again, even though it's like, oh, I've done this 100 times. I've woken up a million times. I've made my bed a million times. I've jumped in the shower a million times. I've eaten breakfast, you know, like I've gone through this routine a million times. But something happens when I get so far down in that rabbit hole that like my brain does not have the simplest of solutions. I have to be reminded and told, like, hey, you need to drink a glass of water. Hey, you need to eat something. Like, it's been 4 days. Your body needs food because I'm so far in this hole that everything just shuts down. And that's why I need to stay connected. Like, I need to go to meetings. I need to be talking to people. I need to be working with a sponsor, and I need to be probably working, you know, like steps like engaged pretty much at all times because it keeps me close to the source. You know, in that 8 months when I was like really drifted out of the rooms, it's wild when you have like the awareness, not the naivety anymore. So you can't just like be going through it and be like, I don't know what I'm doing. And you like have that awareness and you're like, oh, I know exactly what the fuck I'm doing. I'm just like still doing it because I don't necessarily know how to change the behavior yet. But like that awful feeling of like you can see it in front of your face and you know, and I know enough to know where it's coming from and that this is not okay. I'm still doing it. And so that's what was happening. Like when I was like drifting out of the rooms for a while, is like I was literally like I was telling a story to somebody else the other day, and I was literally like sitting in front of this person, and we're like screaming at each other about how much we love each other, but how fucked the situation is, and like screaming, like, this isn't good. I know we shouldn't be doing this, and like having this full on fight. So like seeing that this is not okay, but like just being so dumb that I couldn't do anything different. Um, and that is kind of, you know, I think that's what happens for me a lot right now is that I'm more aware today of what's going on. I'm more aware, or think, of like what I'm doing. Like in this last year, you guys, I have made a little bit of a shift maybe. Really interested in looking at like myself and what my stuff is. You know, I want to see what we got under the hood, like what we're working with here. And in this last year, I've been mirrored some pretty intense things, like the shadow side of ick that I'm like, oh my God, I can do that. Like that's who I am. And it's not just like, you know, it's like, yeah, I can't deny it and I can't minimize it or justify it with like anything, right? Like I'm not drinking and not like that's an excuse anyways, but like I am literally, this is just me. Like this is me coming out. And like I have to and get to own that, right? It's not like, oh yeah, that's a thing that I can do. Like when you do this, I can get. No, I've shown myself that this is the capacity that I have. I can get this fucking mean. I can get this angry. I can get, you know, like that is all me. And those are the things that I didn't notice when I was drinking or using. I wasn't even, you know, that wasn't there. And so in this last little bit, I'm like, oh my God, that's my capacity. And I'm still learning it in a lot of ways. But that's me. I can do that. I do that. And that's really cool. It's really hard. It's been really like shameful in some ways because I don't like looking at myself in, you know, I don't like acknowledging about myself that things about myself that are some of the things that I judge other people the harshest for. And when I see those in myself, it makes me go, ugh. And I want to run away from it and I want to deny that it's there and I want to elevate myself and put myself on a pedestal and talk about how like when I do it, it's different. That's my capacity and I get to own that. And without this program, I wouldn't have the clarity to be able to see those things, because that's the whole thing. That's like why I'm doing this work. Not doing this work so that I can just like not have a cocktail. I'm doing this work so that I can like be a fucking better person, right? Like I want to be like, I want to go as far as I can go. I want to be like what can I do with this? What can I do with this clarity? What can I do with this power? What can I do with this new thing? Like how far can I take this shit? And it's really cool to be able to have the clarity to see those things about myself, and to like, and to have people around me that can help me figure out what to do with that, because in all of that, like the thing that I have been able to nail down about my time in recovery so far, or the journey, whatever, is like I haven't quit. Like I have kept coming back. There may have been times where I wasn't here, and then, like I would drift, but I always came back. Like I have stayed in it in some form or fashion, because I think that this is like a really important bridge for me to spirituality. That's what this program is. It's all spiritual. And I used to get so pissed in the beginning of recovery. I'm a very analytical person. I want answers. I want a plan. I want a formula. And I used to get so pissed off in the beginning of recovery, because the way that I thought I would treat myself was to go get educated and learn about psychology, and then I would have the answers. Kind of confused me more. So here, here, it's like, I got into this program and I showed up and I was like, what do I need to do? Like, coach, tell me what A plus B equals, and I'll get it. I got it from there. And everybody was like, no, it doesn't work like that. Like, you get up in the morning, you make your bed. Fucking stupid, because that doesn't help me at all. And then once I figured out how to wake up and make my bed, it was like, great, your next step is wake up, make your bed, shower. And it was like, well, okay, we're adding like, toddler type things here. This is a really great program. I didn't fucking know how to get up and shower, you guys. I had to be toddlered. Like, that's like what it was. Like, I had to be met where I was at. And thankfully there were people who could do that, because like, it was literally so. Ooh, I feel so sad for that version of me. Like, and that's something new recently too, you guys. Instead of just being like, ugh, what the fuck were you think? Like, ugh. It's like shaming that like younger version, right? Because even though it was just a couple years ago, it was a younger version of me. And I feel so sad for her. Like, Jessie that came into this program was very, very broken. And but I did it. Like I did this program, and I trusted the people who I was, who I was told that I could trust. The women who had like walked before me, I was told to lean into them. And there was a lot of times where I really had to use their faith, because I didn't have any. I think that's like the biggest thing about when I came into recovery, is I was so like, I just experienced something so crazy to me that like, it didn't like break my heart. It didn't just like, like level my life. It like actually like stripped my faith. And that is a very powerful thing, to encounter something, for me to have encountered something that actually stripped my entire faith in everything. And I had none when I came in here. I had to rely on the women that had walked before me, and that they had recovered, that they felt that I could do it, that they had seen people recover as well. And really just hold on to that. And that's what I've done, because it's gotten really dark. Recovery didn't fix things for me. Recovery allowed me to see what's in front of me really clearly. And that doesn't fix the emotion. That doesn't mean that I don't have difficulty with what's in front of me. It means that, I get the opportunity to learn how to walk in recovery and navigate with that circumstance, instead of reverting to those old patterns that lead me nowhere but self-destruction and destruction of the people who I love the absolute most around me. Something that I've done in recovery that I've had to like, really be able to try to navigate is just like acknowledging that I fell down and that life and family needed to shift in the moment so that I could like, be okay. Because I was not okay. I didn't have anything. And to like, take these things that I'm responsible for, that I've been gifted, and be like, you are responsible for these, and to not be able to like hold those things because I had just like, bleh, and recovery has helped me navigate all of that because I wouldn't have been able to do it. Like I would be dead without this. And it's not because I was waking up every morning when I came into these rooms. I had not drank for 2 years, almost 3 years by the times I came into these rooms. I was not waking up every morning drinking. I wasn't there. Spiritually, I would be like, I might be dead without this program and helping me like just tap back into that and give me like that life force, because that's all what it is. And I think maybe, like everything had to be stripped down to the bottom so that all I had to connect with was the universe. And that pulled me through. Fellowship, huge. When I found that group of friends, that's what kept me going for a really long time too. And it's weird because that shifted, and then learning how to navigate like, those shifts as well. As soon as like my friend group shifted, I was like, oh my God, my life's over. Recovery is ruined. What am I gonna do? And we navigate, we shift, we figure it out, I mean, like I could, yeah, absolutely be like, oh no, I don't like this aspect anymore, I'm gonna give up. How dedicated am I? Right? How bad do I want it? And that's with everything that's kind of come in. That's like a minor example, but very real. That was a hard shift. Um, Routine. That's a lot of what I need this program for as well. I am not great without a routine. If I'm left to my own devices, I will sink. And I hate admitting that because I am such a rebellious person that I don't want it to be true that I need someone to like help me structure my life, or something to help me structure my life. So routine is huge. Being able to have to be accountable for like a meeting, to have to be accountable to other people. Not only accountable to other people, just like in like doing service work, but I guess because I want to be, because I've been given so much from this program and from the people in this program that like I also don't want to, I don't want to be drunk off my ass if somebody calls me and is like, hey, I need help. I want to be able to give some of that back. And I don't know. This has been a really, really powerful big journey for me these last couple of years, and it really is all because of you guys. And oh my God, if you knew how much that kills me to say that, because I have, like, I just had to take a breath. Because I don't, I want to do it on my own. You guys don't understand. I want to do it solely on my own. And I don't know what that is. But I can't, and I don't, and I have to learn that every day, relearn that every day. Because like what was said at the beginning, there is nothing like relating to an alcoholic. And there's nothing, like this is a place where I don't have that, like, I'm not worried, really. I was for a while, but I'm not really worried anymore that someday suddenly the collective of AA is going to be like, oh, you know how you really related to us? We made all that up. Sorry. Yeah, it's just, I know that that's probably not going to go away. And I can pretty much find someone in these rooms any given moment to like relate to, like, and that's what I have to do. It's so embarrassing. Like I'm sitting here thinking I'm weird, you guys. It's also taken me so long to be able to acknowledge I'm a weird girl. Like I don't just like have quirky things. I'm a weird fucking chick. Like I don't like feel like I belong on this realm sometimes, and like all of you can tell that. And yeah, I don't know. It's been a wild ride. I'm really, really grateful. Um, I wouldn't be here. I'm really grateful to have been asked to speak today. Everything that I've been given in this program, the one thing that I can say in all of that struggle is just keep coming back, because that is the only thing that's worked. Like, if nothing else sticks, keep coming back in some way, somehow, because it will sort itself out. It will get worked out. But just like, I cannot stray too far away from this particular path. I have to keep coming back, and I don't have to have all the answers other than keep coming back. That's what I've got. Thank you for letting me speak. I appreciate it.